All right, welcome back. We got JFK this week. We brought in case expert Adam Royce. Say hi,
That's
Adam.
me. Hello. I'm
Adam.
Adam Royce. I was there during the assassination, so I'll bring some more credible information to the table.
On November 22nd, 1963, President John F. Kennedy was riding through Dallas, Texas in a motorcade. He was there to calm tensions from the hostile Democratic Party in Texas, a state that was critical for his re-election in 1964. Around 12:30, the motorcade was driving in front of the Texas School Book Depository. Suddenly, two gunshots were heard, and Kennedy was hit in the back of the neck. Sitting in front of him was Governor John Connally, who was also hit. Seconds later, another shot was fired, hitting Kennedy in the back of the head, killing him. The shooter, Lee Harvey Oswald, was caught and determined to be the gunman. At 2:38 that day, Lyndon B. Johnson was sworn in as president. 2 days later, while Oswald was being transferred to the Dallas County Jail, he was shot dead on live television by a man named Jack Ruby. When asked why he did it, Ruby said it was to avenge Kennedy. On November 29, 1963, newly sworn-in President Johnson appointed the Warren Commission, whose purpose was to investigate the circumstances surrounding the assassination of JFK and Lee Harvey Oswald. The commission came to a conclusion that Lee Harvey Oswald was the sole shooter, and there was no conspiracy surrounding the assassination of him or Kennedy. Supporting this claim was the multiple eyewitness reports that saw Oswald on the 6th floor of the depository. A 6.5mm Carcano rifle was also found on the 6th floor of the depository, which was owned by Oswald. 3 bullet casings were found on the floor. Along with JFK's autopsy, the commission also used the footage filmed by Abraham Zapruder to determine that Kennedy was hit twice. As for the killing of Oswald, the commission concluded that Jack Ruby simply walked into the police department with his .38 caliber Colt Cobra revolver and shot Oswald. There is no evidence to support any conspiracy surrounding this assassination.
None of that's correct, Caleb.
No, that that is what happened though. He was. Like that's just the facts surrounding it. He was shot 3 times.
He was shot.
No, he wasn't shot 3 times. He was shot twice, and there were 3 shots
There
fired
were
that could
three
be seen.
bullets.
3 bullets that he shot, and he was definitely a shooter. And that's the facts. You
Lee
can't
Harvey
argue
Oswald
that.
did not shoot that man. Lee Harvey Oswald did not shoot that man.
Have you seen
Lee,
the video on Instagram of the dude driving and he turns around, shoots him in the head as they're driving?
it was someone in a car.
Yeah, it was the
There was
driver
it was
of
a
JFK's car.
no what? Don't you think?
JFK was
I've
in the
not
back
seen this.
seat of a convertible, and there's like
Yeah.
a very low definition video, and the driver turns around.
Are you just saying it's a video? You don't. No.
I would
It
have to
can't.
scroll through my Instagram pretty far, but I swear to God, I think I saved it.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm sure that some retard thought of that. I'm sorry, some tard. But I did. That couldn't have happened because Kennedy had somebody in front of him too. Connolly. He had Connolly in front of him. I think Connolly would have seen their driver turn around with a pistol and shoot him.
Maybe he was in on it.
Also, the
Yeah.
bullet went through the back of his head.
Well, there were several bullets.
But he was only hit twice.
Have you inspected his body personally, Caleb?
You two
In the
suck.
video,
do you know?
doesn't his head shoot back?
Yeah.
Yes,
You have a
yes,
video?
Yes.
that's true. Because
Yeah.
he was shot in the front by someone who was behind a fence post. That's true. Look it up.
Caleb,
There were 3
what
shooters,
fucking
Caleb.
research did you do for this video?
I already regret bringing in Adam, bro. I already regret this. This is terrible.
What do you-
This is stupid.
This is
a
the
terrible
facts.
idea. This is a terrible idea. In the video, his head. How does the video go? I don't remember. Well, it was only like
You're not an expert like I am.
it was one of those old cameras, so it didn't capture like however many frames cameras can capture
Did
nowadays.
the back of his head, did it like open up? Was it a large?
No, that was the front. The front opened up.
It's from the front,
head goes back.
motherfucker.
It is not from the front. It's from.
The the exit wound of a round is fucking gigantic. The back of his head explodes.
No, the front of his head explodes.
Look
The
this shit.
front. Adam, go back. Or whoever. Who is this? Who's doing this?
Me.
Was
Not
this?
me.
Oh, okay. Go back. Pause it. I can't see because there's.
I don't think you can pause it.
His head goes back. He was shot in the foot.
Yeah, his head goes back, but the exit wound is in the front. His front.
No, it's
explodes.
not.
Yes, it is.
Look at that shit.
Right there, right there.
Ooh.
Morgan, what do you... Morgan, you know that's from the front. You can see... You can see the front explodes.
His head shoots backwards, though.
His head does shoot backwards.
Yeah, because... I actually don't know. I don't know why it goes backwards. I have no explanation for that.
Before continuing on, I want to explain why JFK's head goes backwards. A lot of people know that an entry wound is a lot smaller than an exit wound. As Morgan already said, this is because as the bullet makes contact with the object being shot, it loses its perfect spiral and starts tumbling, which increases the area it hits. Now this footage comes from the slow motion, guys. If you want to go watch the video yourself, go check it out. I'll put a link in the description. It's not my video. Technically, I may or may not have permission to be using it, but we're going to use it anyways because it's a good example. So here they're shooting an egg, which can represent JFK's head. Now, as I'm talking about, the bullet's in a perfect spiral right now. But as it goes through, you can see it kind of tilts there and it loses its perfect spiral. It's still spiraling, but it's not as good, and you can see there that it's not as straight as it once was. The skull is already a tight area filled with your brain and tissues. This combined with the bullet's force creates a large amount of pressure, more pressure than if it were to hit any other part on your body. As the bullet starts to exit, all of this built up pressure escapes at once, like a little explosion. This force is enough to knock JFK's head backwards for a short time. Now we can use the egg as an example again. As the bullet goes through, you can see the amount of pressure exiting. So you would think that the yolk inside would just go straight through the exit wound, right? Well, actually, the force exerted from the exit wound causes the yolk inside to go backwards, just like JFK's head. Now, looking at the Zapruder film, it doesn't capture as many frames as the slow motion guys do, but you can see here that the exit wound is fucking huge. That is huge. That is an insane amount of pressure. That pressure is enough to cause JFK's head to be knocked back for a short time, but as we can see here, it does eventually fall forward. While the commission is positive about their conclusions, many people have questioned them. With that, let's get into the theories. Our first theory is the commission was right. Oswald was the sole shooter with no conspiracy. Lee Harvey Oswald was born on October 18, 1939. In 1957, at age 17, he quit school and joined the Marines. During his service, he was described as being arrogant and egotistical. One of his fellow Marines said Oswald would, quote, cut up anybody that was high-ranking and make himself out top dog. However, Oswald made multiple court-martial appearances, one of which was because he shot himself in the elbow with an unauthorized handgun. As a result, Oswald was undesirably discharged from the Marines. He attempted to reverse the discharge and sent a letter to John Connally, who at the time was the Secretary of the Navy. However, he had just resigned to run for governor of Texas. After being discharged, it was learned that Oswald had defected to the Soviet Union. This was in part to him reading about Marxism during his teenage years. His beliefs were clearly shown in a letter he wrote to his brother, where he stated his desire to move to the Soviet Union because of his disdain towards the United States. In October of 1959, Oswald made his dream a reality and moved to the Soviet Union. During his time there, he tried to attend Moscow State University, but hilariously, he was instead sent to work as a machine operator. In 1962, Oswald returned to the United States along with a wife named Maria. She stated that after returning to the U.S., Oswald began experiencing psychological difficulties. On April 10, 1963, Oswald attempted to assassinate General Edwin A. Walker because he considered Walker to be a, quote, fastest leader and extremely right-wing politically. But the assassination attempt failed, and Oswald escaped without being caught. Prior to this, he had taken multiple photos of him posing with his rifle and pistol. He left a note for his wife saying that if he got caught, he wanted her to mail out the photos to the military. Fast forward to November 1963. If you recall, Lee Harvey Oswald worked in the Texas Depository. Multiple people who worked there also saw Oswald in the building the day of the assassination. Buell Wesley Frazier, a fellow co-worker, drove Oswald to work that day. Oswald had a long package with him that he claimed was containing curtain pipes. Not mentioned earlier, but about 45 minutes after the shooting, Oswald traveled 3 miles south where he was confronted by police officer J.D. Tibbet. Oswald would draw his gun and shoot Tibbet dead. Hours later, he was arrested. During a 12-hour interrogation, he maintained that he was not involved in the Kennedy assassination. But as we know, Jack Ruby shot Oswald before more interrogations could be carried out. When interrogated, Jack Ruby claimed he had no connection to Lee Harvey Oswald and claimed that he carried out the shooting by himself. He did it because he thought Oswald was going to be executed anyway. Jack Ruby never admitted to having anyone help him carry out the assassination. He died years later in 1967. The Warren Commission interviewed several people close to Oswald and looked into his background. They concluded that even though Lee Harvey Oswald was heavily involved with the Communist Party, there was nobody else helping him carry out the assassination. They also heavily interrogated Jack Ruby and looked into his background, but found no indication that anyone else helped him.
CalebJeff.
I'm
Lee
not
Harvey
saying-
Oswald.
I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying that's what the Warren Commission. This is what the Warren Commission said.
Well, the Warren Commission is full of crooks, Caleb.
Well, how do
It
you know
was
that?
so Lee Harvey Oswald. He didn't kill JFK at all. He was framed because he was a communist, and the CIA, they don't like communism, so they
Well,
found this
obviously.
guy and they pinned it all on him so that they could blame it all on communism. Jack Ruby was hired by the CIA to silence Lee Harvey Oswald before that anyone would believe him. Before anyone would believe that he didn't kill JFK.
Why would Jack Ruby do that though? Because he figured he was
He was
going to
hired
be
by the
caught.
CIA.
Yeah, but like
His money.
money, he's going to be in prison for the rest of his life.
Well,
I don't, or he was probably a pedophile. That's what the
That's an
government
option.
does. They always
What? What is him having? What would him
why
being
do
a
you look so
pedophile?
confused?
What would him
The
being a
government-
pedophile?
What do you
Obvious
mean?
answer here.
All pedophiles just
He was
shoot
a pedophile.
assassins. That's what they do.
I don't know.
I feel like you two are tag teaming me, bro. I'm not here saying this
We're
is what
providing
happened.
facts and evidence, Caleb.
Yeah,
You're
'cause
one
I'm
of
not.
silly opinions.
Whatever.
You guys are just tag teaming me.
This video should just be called Caleb's a fucking idiot.
Before getting into the next theories, let's look at the idea that there were 2 shooters involved. As mentioned before, the Warren Commission states that only 3 bullets were fired by Oswald. The first missed, the second hit JFK in the neck, and the third was the fatal headshot. The second bullet is the most controversial due to it supposedly going through both JFK and Connolly while staying fully intact. This is often referred to as the magic bullet theory. The theory is that the bullet entered the back right side of JFK's neck and exited the front at a downward angle, entered the right side of Connolly's back, shattered a rib, exited below his right nipple, went through his right wrist, and hit Connolly's left thigh, where it stayed until doctors extracted it. Given where JFK and Connolly would have been sitting, it's hard to imagine how this bullet path works. However, JFK was sitting at a higher elevation than Connolly, making it more plausible. Many simulations of the bullet path have also shown that the magic bullet theory is possible, but it should be noted that John Connolly rejects the theory and believes an entirely separate bullet hit him. Here's a quote from Connolly. "There's to my absolute knowledge, and Nellie's too, that one bullet caused the president's first wound, and that an entirely separate shot struck me. It's a certainty. I'll never change my mind."
I would believe the guy who got shot.
I would also believe the guy who got shot.
Yeah, that's why I included it.
Well then, see now I'm starting to follow you, Caleb. Except you were close, but you weren't right.
How are
There
you
weren't
still
2
shooting on
shooters.
me?
There were 3 shooters. Is the thing.
You guys.
There was the one behind the fence, the one up at the library, and there was a third one some fucking way else. I don't know.
The
there were
fence
3.
meaning the grassy knoll.
I don't know.
Okay,
Was there a fence there at the grassy knoll?
sure. Actually, I
What
think there
is a
was.
grassy knoll?
It was
Yeah, maybe.
he was driving through kind of like a park area. It'd be like, you know, in Waterville when you're going up to the high school and you're going through Main Street and then you take a right to go into the high school and
This
there's
is
the
just
plaza.
like Waterville.
Shut the fuck
You
up!
get shot in what?
No, but wouldn't you say that's a lot for one bullet, anyways?
I don't believe
I would.
that.
That is an awful lot.
'Cause it went through.
I don't think
two-
that happened.
It went through two humans. Went through his Connolly's rib and his wrist. Landed in his left thigh and stayed fully intact.
I don't believe it.
You wouldn't.
I don't know. That's a pretty big round, actually.
I don't know. Going through two people though, because I'm pretty sure you can find
I kind of believe that.
his third bullet too, the one that went through his head, and that one was destroyed. I mean, going
That's
through a
pretty
head,
similar
going through a head
to
is
6.5 Creedmoor.
going through a head is a lot different. But I'm saying it just seems like a lot, and the bullet path doesn't make much sense because if it went through his rib and then went through his right wrist, and somehow landed in his I guess it just
Also, they
depends.
wouldn't be like clean exit wounds because when a bullet would ricochet, it will start like
Yeah.
spinning,
Well, I didn't know that.
so it would like tear it up.
In September 1976, 13 years after the assassination, the House Select Committee on Assassinations was established to further investigate the assassinations of John F. Kennedy and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Now, why would an organization be created 13 years after JFK's assassination? It turns out that the CIA was withholding information from the Warren Commission during their investigation. Interestingly, this commission drew some different conclusions by using acoustics and other evidence. They were able to, quote, establish a high probability that two gunmen fired at President John F. Kennedy, end quote. They also said, quote, the committee believes, on the basis of evidence available to it, that President John F. Kennedy was probably assassinated as a result of a conspiracy, end quote. However, the committee does not know who the other gunman was or who they worked for.
This is the government, a government commission saying that there's a high probability that two gunmen fired at Kennedy. That's not me saying that. So Adam.
Why would you say that, Caleb?
Adam Royce. Adam Royce is right, or he could
Yes,
be
I
right.
am.
He could be right. We don't know that.
I am right. Ask JFK yourself. Last
should
night, in
get in a
preparation for
Ouija
this
board.
video, I got a fucking Ouija board. I asked him.
So there could have been
If
two
there were-
shooters.
If there were two shooters, then you immediately have to throw out everything the Warren Commission said. Clearly,
Yeah.
they don't know what they're talking
Well, clearly you have to anyways, because clearly
Clearly, they know exactly what they're talking about, and they're trying to cover it.
about. More of the story, you should always just trust what the government tells you at face value.
I don't think I said this, but when they used their acoustical evidence, they said that there were 4 gunshots fired.
Acoustical.
Ooh,
So if there
that's a
were,
contradiction.
if there were 4 fired, that couldn't be possible in 8 seconds.
Why not 6?
Why not
Because-
7?
Because
Why not 10?
the acoustics didn't say that. Okay, bro. I'm arguing in
are these
favor of you guys.
acoustics?
I'm arguing in favor of you guys, and you guys are still arguing against me. No matter
Acoustics.
what.
Did they go into a sound room and play guitar to figure this out? I'm a little confused.
No.
As for who could be behind the conspiracy, let's get into it. Our second theory is that the Russians killed JFK. As mentioned before, Oswald was a known communist that had defected to the Soviet Union. Not mentioned earlier is that Oswald had actually been to the Russian embassy in Mexico City about 2 months before the assassination. The supposed reasoning behind this was because he was seeking a visa in order to return back to Russia. However, other than this, there is no more evidence that the Russians did it. It should also be noted that the Warren Commission and the House Select Committee are both certain the Russians weren't involved. While many people do not trust the Commission and its findings, the US despised the Soviets at the time. There would be no reason for them to hide any Soviet involvement, assuming they found any.
It wasn't the Russians.
I agree. It wasn't them.
I feel like that's always like the Cold War era. You just
Yeah,
fall back
you
on blaming the
you
Russians.
Yeah.
always gotta blame the Russian. Even now, bro. Even
Even- yeah.
just blame the
For the
Russian.
past like 100 years, how the Russians did it.
You run out of toilet paper? It's the fucking Russians.
Russia.
Caleb says something stupid because he's Russian.
Car doesn't
Actually,
start in the
you're
morning?
probably you are Russian.
Yep.
Did you kill JFK?
Right?
Did you kill? Just tell us.
Yeah, you have the insider info.
I don't know.
It's like in your
Legally, you legally have to tell us.
Our third theory is that the CIA killed Kennedy. Many have pointed an accusatory finger at the CIA that was only more encouraged after it was revealed they were withholding information. Great amounts of this information included plots to assassinate Castro. In the 1960s, the CIA made hundreds of attempts on Castro during his reign of power. They viewed him as a direct threat to the United States and saw him as their #1 target. One of their more famous attempts was the 1961 Bay of Pigs invasion, where troops were deployed to invade Cuba and overthrow Castro. However, shortly after being deployed, they were heavily outnumbered by the Cuban military. When the CIA requested for additional air support, Kennedy refused, resulting in another embarrassing failure. Shortly afterwards, JFK would force the head of the CIA, Allen Dulles, to retire. Some theorized that the CIA was upset with Kennedy for his lack of help, and with him forcing leaders out of the CIA, they could have seen him as a threat. Allen Dulles was selected to be on the Warren Commission, and as we remember, the CIA withheld information. It's also possible that the FBI may have been involved. Lee Harvey Oswald was actually under heavy surveillance from the FBI at the time. However, even though Oswald worked in a building directly on the motorcade route, the FBI did not inform the Secret Service about him. Right after the assassination, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover quickly came to the conclusion that Lee Harvey Oswald was the sole shooter without any conspiracy. He advised that an investigation did not need to be carried out. However, Lyndon B. Johnson formed the Warren Commission, but he would actually take advice from Hoover about who to assign to the commission. These are just some of the reasons why many people believe the CIA was involved. For what it's worth, Robert Kennedy Jr. believes that the CIA had a role in the assassination of his uncle.
What was I gonna say? I don't know. I had a thought. I completely forgot what it was. And yes, I'm sure it
Was
was
it about
stupid.
JFK?
I'm sure it was stupid. Yes, it was about JFK.
I would never think that any of your ideas are stupid, Caleb. I value what you have to say.
Are you sure?
Unless it's about some Russian bullshit.
Yeah.
Caleb's a communist.
What? What did you say?
I said Caleb's a communist.
This
I
true,
don't
Caleb?
like I don't like communism. It's stupid.
You
The
fucking
CIA is gonna
love
come after you next.
I
communism.
hate communism, bro. It's so stupid. I mean, I don't know.
You're reading
I
off
actually
the script right now.
No, I'm being serious.
Our fourth theory is that the Mafia helped the CIA assassinate Kennedy. In the early 1960s, the CIA hired Sam Giancana and John Roselli to help them assassinate Castro. Together they hatched several different plans, including the aforementioned Bay of Pigs invasion, which the Mafia actually helped the CIA carry out. But as we know, they would fail without Kennedy's help. This would give motive as to why these two powerful groups may have wanted JFK dead. It's also reported that JFK's father worked with Giancana in bootlegging operations during the Prohibition. Another rumor is that Giancana and the Chicago mob helped JFK win the 1960 election. After the election, JFK appointed his brother, Robert Kennedy, as Attorney General. Robert quickly made major moves against organized crime. This angered the Mafia and would have made it personal if they had helped JFK win the election. It was soon after the election that the CIA contacted Giancana to help kill Castro. People have also speculated that Jack Ruby had Mafia connections, being that he owned a nightclub in Dallas, and that he made a number of long-distance calls right before the assassination. Perhaps he was hired by the Mafia to kill Oswald to keep him quiet. However, there is little to no actual proof that Ruby had Mafia connections. That also seems to be the problem with this theory. The only evidence is the close connections all of these people had with each other, but no physical proof.
I've heard about this one before. The Mafia.
Yep, the old Mafia.
I'll let this one gets a pass. I'll say it's Since it involves the CIA. This one, I'll let you get away with this one.
This one looks good on paper, but I don't. There's no evidence supporting it, and how would they even help them kill JFK? Morgan, give us an ending.
I actually don't know.
What do you mean?
I think it was the CIA. The CIA did it.
You think it was
And
the CIA?
It was the CIA.
Adam is the information guy. So.
Yes, it was the CIA. Caleb provided 2 useless theories that gained nothing
Not
in my life.
help at all.
Yeah. The Russians, I mean, seriously, Caleb, come on. Morgan provided some very important stuff about aliens.
I didn't say
and
the
then
Russians
I
did
knew
it.
everything.
I didn't say the Russians did it.
I threw
Well,
the
then-
alley-oop, and Adam took it home with the windmill dunk.
And then that's pretty
Caleb
much
just
what
kinda
happened.
watched from the bench.
Yeah. I think we should probably put this video on our own channel. I don't think this really should be on Caleb's. You can
guys
still
suck.
edit it though.
You guys suck.